Alright, morning time. Let's grab our whoops. Not our Windows key, dog. Okay. God. The Windows key, man. Windows, why are you being so derpy? Why you gotta be so worse all the time, Windows? I need you to boot up fast, stay fast. Probably I'll start listening to some not Minecraft, some videos by guys who work with Win 10, who know what they're doing. All right, we're just getting some vanilla ores, redstone, coal, and iron. And tools are working really well. I'm enjoying this, having a good time with this. Don't necessarily need so much redstone, etc. But ooh, that was freaky. Looking for that diamond, that sweet, sweet diamond. And you know what I need? I'm gonna need that fortune pick, aren't I? Which I don't have one. I'm gonna need to get to one. I would do this off camera, except you know your old buddy dog, I'd probably have a lot of excitement just when at some point while I'm off camera. So we'll just leave the videotape machine running in case we see some of them spooks. One of my buddies just solved a long time mystery about mysterious lights in a small place in Oklahoma. Discovered that the lights, there's lots of local legends about the lights. Discovered that they're just simply highway traffic, the geometry of the road, how things seem through the dark, through the woods. Did some good sleuthing. He did some really good sleuthing. Debunking another ghost story. Another really good ghost story debunked. Take that iron, thank you very much. More iron, yes please. Thank you. Alright, well that's enough. That's enough old school stuff here. Let's go back, see if we can find some new school stuff. Boop. Back to our X shaft right here in the nice light. I think just two more days and we'll call this good. And let me double check and make sure I think I got everything from here. Of course, everything except the chests. Yep. Good. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this crafting table, turn it into a crafting station, put it right back here, and that way it remembers the materials that we need. I'll take this tool station here, put the big old hammy on it. Oh, can I go like this? I can. Pair it twice as fast. I hope you weren't yelling at me for that. Sometimes it takes a time, you know. Remember how to do things right. There we go. What's like down at the end of this tunnel? Going straight westward. Really curious how far I have to go to hit new terrain. That's what I want to do though, actually. I want to get on the surface and go out a ways to get to new materials, which means we'll have to put away this stuff. Looked like straight up noon. Another thing I got at Walmart today was chocolate milk. I have been on a bit of a chocolate milk binge since this summer, early this summer. I quit drinking milk quite some time ago, and the less I drink, the better I feel. My chiropractor, for a while there, I was drinking. My chiropractor's been after me to get more calcium in my diet, and so I started drinking a lot of milk, thinking, "Hey, this will help me get the calcium I need." And he was like, "Nope, dog. Ooh, I forgot about compression dynamo. Oh man, I forgot about the dynamos we has. Totally forgot about the dynamos." Let's compress a little bit of this cobble. Boop, boop, boop. And let's do it some more. Boop, boop, boop. And that's not all we can do. Boop, there we go. Can always uncompress it as we need, as the situation requires. Situation in the ready room. Boop. Boop. I have a buddy, a fairly new buddy. His name is Chris. He was, I'm not that familiar with the LGBTQ plus trans, etc. Issues. Not that up on him. He was really freaking out a bit about. Let's see, 2 diamonds, about Trump's supposed stance on gender issues. So I'm really curious where that goes. Really curious. Chris is worried about it. He is actually. I don't know what led us to talking about it, but Jelly Bez got me on this Japanese drama kick. There's a station called Drama Fever. Actually, I could get into new territory real quick that way, but I want to go westward. I just want to go westward. I think this is where we went, and we went across the ocean, but let's just go and see. He suggested a bunch of anime for me to try out, and a Korean drama called Liar's Game. Jelly Bez told me, she said, he's big on Korean historical drama. He says some of it's amazing and the acting is really good, the writing is really good. And Jelly Bez said, yeah, but it always comes down to a love triangle. And I bounced that off of him. He said, yeah, it always comes down to a love triangle. Korean. He said, yeah, Korean, Japanese drama, it always comes down to a love triangle. And that just really tickled me. But we were talking a little bit today, and he was really worried about, he's much more of a political animal than I am. He's really worried about harassment, etc., etc. Ouch. A big issue for somebody who has to fight for the right to live and breathe without being messed with every day, We have I would call it a sizable LGBT community at the university, and it's really interesting. I have a concurrent class of mostly of high school seniors, and it's really interesting to get their reactions on a lot of things, like feminism. They take great pains to explain they're not feminists and so forth. They don't believe in it and things like that. Wow, that's gonna. Oh, I made it. Oh, there's my boat. Did my boat. Did my boat, man. And they remind me so much of me. When I came back to the university in 2005, 10 years ago, and some of my thoughts that were sort of molded in I was a kid in the 1960s, and I was inheriting the thoughts of my parents who were molded in the 1940s, whose thoughts were molded in the 1940s. And so essentially I'm carrying these 1940s thoughts with me, and I see that also in the students that I'm teaching. Let's sleep in our sleeping bag. Very fixed gender roles, you know, and just really interesting, really interesting. I see myself in them. When I start to get frustrated with them, I remind myself of what I was like and how long it took me to get used to get comfortable with people expressing gender identities that were beyond what I grew up with and was told was right, you know. So I don't know if I'd call it sympathy or empathy or something, but more of a nostalgia. Not nostalgia, that's the wrong word. Anagnorisis, peripatia, recognize myself in them in some way. My old self, prior self. This really looks like old terrain, doesn't it? Copper is really common, and it should show up in new terrain pretty easily. I am not seeing any of it, nary a sign of it. It's back to where the boat is, I think. I don't think we passed the boat. I think it's right over the rise, and I'm wrong. Is it not right here? Nope. Anyway, Chris was very perturbed about the future possibilities, concerned, worried. He really doesn't want to go back to the way things, you know, used to be, and I don't think that's going to happen. But at the same time, there are some elements in our society, in our culture, that are very, very simplistic, you know, in thinking. Very simple. Keep things simple. Yeah. All right. Well, this is going to be. I'm going to call it after today. This will be our last day in this episode. Ooh, look at that. That's odd. Let's jump over here and hop on this new terrain. Looks like the trees are half underwater over yonder from the changing water levels. Oh gosh, look at that. A floating island of dirt. A levitating island of nothingness. And no exposed ores here. Nothing. Well, let's head on back. We did a kind of a loop of nothing over here, but I would like to get sort of towards back home before darkness falls. Japanese and Korean drama. I'm really digging them. Chris told me that Liar's Game would be something good to watch. He really knows his anime, and glad to get to know him. You know, glad to get to know him. I've got some other buddies that work in the adjunct office with me. One of them is Adam, and I played indoor soccer with Adam Oh, cows, you guys are stranded. This past summer, I played one full season of indoor soccer, but I kept having so many injuries. um, and then playing badminton at the same time up at the university, so many injuries. And it just got to the point, my chiropractor, Dr. Welch, told me that I needed to, he said, just walk. He's like, dog, just walk, man. I was like, but I want to play badminton like the big boys. And he said, well, he said, did you ever think that you're not as young as the big boys? And I said, well, I thought that once, but age got nothing to do with it, doc. He said, no, but you know, little things like flexibility, dog, do have a few things to do with it. You know what else we haven't found is a spawner. Any kind of spawner, old spawner, new spawner, borrowed or blue spawner. We haven't found any kind of a spawner here. Oof. And I would like to find one, dadgummit. Well, we have survived. We went through some trials in this episode and last. We survived some ghast attacks, zombie pigman attacks. We survived getting lost in the nether without a waypoint back to the portal. We just flat out did some surviving. And it was good. And I saw it, and it was good. Spawn is pretty sure it's going to be quite a bit leftward. Looks like I'm kind of lollygagging, taking my time heading back. Just curious. I'm just still very, very curious about this world we have found ourselves in here. What is this? This is beta terrain with tall grass. Sweetly not alpha terrain. Wouldn't you like to be the guy testing this stuff or coding this stuff and running some test cases and upgrading a world, you know, updating a world from old to new and seeing how the terrain's patched together and then trying to develop little algorithms to make it patchable? That would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun, dog. Can I show you my thread collection, dog? That's fun too. Yeah, I know. Come on, man. Don't. You hating now. You are just hating. It says, this is nothing like your silly ass thread collection. Don't even get me started on that. I'm actually, the subtext of what I'm doing is I'm looking for a spawner. I don't know why. But having to make that mossy cobble reminded me very clearly that I would like to find a dadgum spawner. And they were relatively easy to find in alpha terrain. Relatively easy. Maybe we should do we should pause and do a map thing. Whoa, and zoom out thing. And look for a square. Where are we at? Look for a square. Those are squares, but it's weird. Those are terrain squares. Terrain generation. Old terrain, the spawner would, the sand would fall, you know, into the spawner. It created a cube of the correct dimensions, but it was an empty cube or air, you know. There's our base, and so I'm really curious if there's a surface spawner anywhere around. Okay, where am I at? Oh, there I am. Unfollow. Follow and unfollow. Don't really see anything down here in the sand. Anything really suspicious looking. Nope. Okay. Let's stop wasting daylight and get on back. There's something. There's a cave. That is what it's called. There's a torch. Torches. Big oak trees. More torches. More torches. What in the crap is all these torches? What's up with that? We know the very last thing we need is to get into gender bullying again. Gender hating. Oh, that's the red wool base. Okay. That was really brutal way back in the day. Brutal and unnecessary. And, you know, it arose from fear, just outright fear. The guys would be like just absolutely terrified of being turned into, of having their identity, their gender, of having their gender identity changed or stolen or something. And it was really odd. And it was odd. It was just odd growing up in that time. I have no good things to say about it, really. That part of it. Quite a few things about our past are just disgusting and not worth keeping. Worth remembering, but not worth going back to. And that would be one of them. Gender bullying. All kinds of gender bullying. Doot, 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 doot. And where my base at, man? To the right, man. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm afraid it's a fairly unproductive episode in terms of materials. But, you know, we're learning a little bit more about our world every day. Every day in every way. Oh. Collect some more ore berries before we turn in for the night. And here we go. Thanks for joining me. Ooh, 6 more levels. Oh, let's do one more thing. Let's pull some levels out. And let's enchant something. What shall we enchant? A bow? Glad you suggested it. Let's enchant a bow. Let's chant a bow. And this is the old-fashioned way, so it's going to be totally random. Unbreaking 3 and power 4. Not a bad start. See you guys another time. Minecraft through the night with me. Doggone. Sleep well. Sleep tight.